Hey guys, this is Yoda. This will be my Frost DK guide for Season 3 of The War Within. We'll be focusing mostly on Mythic Plus. Frost DK got a massive rework going into Season 3. It looks like a very strong DPS spec for Mythic Plus. Obviously, we are still in the PTR stages while this is recorded, so things can change, in the balance department. But right now, Frost DK looks very strong. Probably the highest single target of any, high tier Mythic Plus. DK utility is obviously really useful. So we'll go into what changed here with the rework. So number one, you actually use Frost Scythe now. Basically, Frost Scythe is just AoE Obliterate. You no longer have to push D&D to use Obliterate and AoE. You just push Frost Scythe instead. A major change people have been asking for. Number two, I believe, at least this build, you want to be playing with Two-Hander. That is, from what I understand, mainly because your tier set empowers your Obliterate and your Frost Scythe so much, and you also have this talent, or this passive, Might of the Frozen Waste, while waiting Two-Hander. Obliterate and Frost Scythe are increased by 30%. And your killing machines are going to be, you're going to have less killing machines, but it's still going to be a decent amount thanks to that passive. Also, Empowered Rune Weapon got completely reworked, and you basically have to react to procs in order to use this properly. We'll go into that when we talk about Killing Machine. So Killing Machine is something that has always existed for Frost, or at least for a long time. Your auto attack crits have a chance to make your Obliterate or your Frost Strike now. Frost Scythe, Obliterate or Frost Scythe, empowered, and now that can stack up to 2, and ideally you do want to be consuming 2 with every spender as much as you can during Pillar. Breath of Cinderghost has also been completely reworked. It costs 60 runic power to activate, but it does not drain your runic power while it's active. Instead, you can extend it by spending Killing Machine or Rhyme, and if you spend 2 Killing Machines, then it extends it by 2 times. Also, the reason we want to be consuming 2 Killing Machines at once is because of Killing Streak. Whenever you consume them, it'll basically consume them twice, and then you'll get like overlapping applications of the haste, what we're kind of going for here. Also, Remorseless Winter is no longer like its own button, and every time you push Pillar, it just pushes Remorseless Winter. So we've kind of shown the talent build a bit. This is what it is. On the right side, I think all the points are pretty much set. You're playing Rider, so you definitely have to play Frostworm's Fury, thanks to this talent. These two, I believe, are like Two-Hander specific talents, but I believe Two-Hander is the stronger build at the moment, which makes a lot of people happy. I know Two-Handed Frost is a fantasy that a lot of people have been, trying to play in Mythic Plus. On the left side, we have a couple flex points. Mainly, I would say the one point here that we can change is Gloom Ward. You can change it for D&D slow if you find that useful. Permafrost, you want to be a little bit more tanky. If you're like having trouble keeping up somehow as Rider, you can play March of Darkness, but you probably don't need that as Rider. And Control Undead, Frost DK can play Control Undead. I don't know of any good applications in the season right now, but I'm sure someone will probably come up with one, maybe in like Priory or something. Those are most of the flex points, honestly, that you have. You could like play Soul Reaper for an extremely small damage gain on single target, but in my opinion, it's not worth it. I'd rather have any other flex point than that. All right, so how do we actually play Frost DK in terms of DPS? So the first thing you need to know is that you are not doing any damage outside of Pillar windows. Pillar windows come every 45 seconds. It says it lasts for 12 seconds, but remember, we're playing this talent the Long Winter. So ideally, if we get, lucky or average luck, it's going to be 18 seconds. Especially if a Shaman, it's almost always going to be 18 seconds. During the 18-second window, you want to be spending as many Killing Machine, Empowered Frost Scythe, or Obliterates as possible. Basically, if you have 3 or more targets, you're going to be using Frost Scythe and Glacial Advance. If you have 1 or 2 targets, then you're going to be using Obliterate and Frost Strike. Basically the same thing. And the way you play your Pillar window is going to change a little bit if you have Breath. So we'll talk about the Breath one first. So every 130, you have Breath of Cinderghost and you have Frostworm's Fury. Remember, as Rider, Frostworm's Fury summons all of your horsemen, so you want to use it before your Pillar window. Since all of your globals in Pillar window are going to be extremely precious, that is thanks to this talent, Obliteration. During Pillar, basically anything you do that's not spending a Killing Machine is giving you a Killing Machine. So the main reason that your windows are different if you have Breath or if you don't have Breath, so number one, you're going to be using Frostworm's Fury beforehand. Number two, you do want to preface it by using Empower Rune Weapon. That also kind of works out because Empower Rune Weapon gives you runic power. So it's just a quick Empower. We're going to do the AoE one here. It's just a quick Empower Rune Weapon into Frost Scythe. That gives you enough for Breath, and then you're going to push everything. Then you're going to push this, Frostworm's Fury, before Breath. And then you're going to push everything together. Pillar, Breath, Trinket, and then we're going to go from there. So we're going to use Ability, then Pillar, Breath, Trinket, then Frost Scythe. And we want to not be at 2 rune weapons here. And the goal is to, every global, spend as many killing machines as possible while not overcapping killing machine. You really do not want to overcap on killing machine, especially during, like, you really don't want to do it ever, but you really don't want to do it during breath window. And that's because, remember, every killing machine you consume extends your breath, so you want as long a breath as possible. So I would say your number one priority is to spend killing machine at 2 stacks if possible. So like if you have 1 killing machine, then you can empower rune weapon very quickly and then use frost scythe. But make sure you do not use empower rune weapon if you're about to get 2 killing machine stacks. And for that reason, I do recommend playing with a swing timer. So especially as two-hander, it is somewhat important that you do not, it's really important that you don't just override your killing machine stacks. And if you remember, you get killing machine stacks at random when you create your auto attacks. So I would say if your swing timer is going to like finish before you're able to use your global, then it's very dangerous to use empower rune weapon because there's a very high chance that you overcap killing machine. Instead, if you have 1 killing machine, it's better to just use your spender, especially during breath. Outside of breath, I mean, I don't know why I'm saying especially during breath. It's like hurts you even more during breath if you mess it up during breath, but in the other pillar window, if you mess it up, it's still really bad. So your goal is to spend as many killing machines as possible on frost scythe and obliterate without overcapping, and that's pretty much it during pillar. You want to use as many killing machine empowered finishers as possible. Everything else is basically just to generate. If you are unable to currently spend a killing machine finisher, then the ability you want to use is Howling Blast. If you have a Rhyme proc, you get Rhyme procs. We'll go over here. You get Rhyme procs when you spend Frost Strike or Glacial Advance. So when you use a Runic Power Spender, if you do not have Rhyme, then you're going to want to use Glacial Advance or Frost Strike, depending on the target count. And that will give you a killing machine, so your next global is almost certainly going to be Frost Scythe or Obliterate. There are sometimes it is possible to like only spend killing machine on 2 stacks. I believe for Rider it's decent bit harder because you have less access to killing machine, especially if you're not playing dual wield. So for now, I would definitely prioritize just make sure if you are able to use a killing machine, do it that global. And if your swing timer is not going to end soon, you can empower rune weapon it. Also, it's somewhat important to not overcap empower rune weapon stacks. And also the reason we're prioritizing Rhyme over Glacial Advance is because Glacial Advance gives you Rhyme stacks. On top of that, Rhyme is like really good to push because it reduces the cooldown of your empower rune weapon. Ideally, you're getting as many empower rune weapons as possible in your pillar. Once your pillar is over, you still want to get empower rune weapons into your breath window. After that, it doesn't really matter. So we'll talk now about what to do outside of breath window. So outside of breath window, which is going to be like roughly half the time, you basically are a wet noodle. You're not going to do really any damage. Ideally, you're not capping out on runes. You're not capping out on runic power, but realistically, the things you're doing in those phases are not going to contribute too much to your damage. Those are really good times to push utility. Like if you see something outside, you can grip it. You can use your stun. You can use your AoE stop, something like that. But most of the time, you are just going to be like sitting here in melee, you know, Frost Scythe, Glacial Advance. Spend procs as you get them, obviously. But don't like greed too much for uptime during this. However, one thing we will talk about is greeding uptime during pillar. So during pillar, you know, that is when you're doing most of your damage and you're kind of AFK outside. The DK DPS is extremely tanky, like ridiculously tanky compared to every other DPS. So basically, while other DPS have to save up their defensives to actually survive survivability checks, a lot of the time, DPS DK can just use their defensives in order to keep uptime. For instance, one big thing is that if there's poop on the ground, you can AMS and then just walk over the poop, and you will not you won't even get the debuff from the poop usually. Another thing to mention is positioning. Pretty much all of your abilities are hitting in front of you, and also, especially during pillar, it is very important that you are in auto attack range. That's because of killing machine. If you're not generating killing machine, then you know you're gonna have with your auto attacks, then you're gonna have to be generating with like Glacial Advance and Rhyme. You're going to be using less killing machines. You're going to have less killing streak. You're going to have a shorter breath. You really don't want to do that. So it is extremely important that you are in auto attack range pretty much for your whole pillar. And you also want to make sure that all of the mobs are in front of you. So you're basically trying to stand like directly behind the backmost mob. Like if you stand like this, then obviously your breath is not going to hit anything over here. If you stand like this, then it's probably not going to hit the furthest one. So you want to stand, if these are the 3 mobs in the pack, you would want to stand like right here. Maybe not directly in his hitbox, so you could dodge easier, but yeah, positioning is pretty important for Frosty Cave. A couple of other important things are using your utility well. We already mentioned Death Grip. You can use it to group things, obviously. and you can also use it as a stop. It has a very low cooldown now, 15 seconds. Basically, any mob that is casting like something that really needs to be stopped, like for instance, Defend, Prior Sacred Flame, or Phalanx Field in Streets, those should literally never go off if you are like in the party, because you can just grip them. Also, I believe, I'm not 100% sure about this, that grip is on a shorter global. It is actually, just tested it. Grip is indeed on a shorter global, so it's really not costly to do it. Obviously, you don't ideally want to be doing this during Pillar, but you know, if a mob is reducing all the damage that they take by 50%, it's better to use grip than not use grip, right? You do also have Chains of Ice. It slows anything. There are a few instances in the dungeon pool where that is really useful, slowing things, stopping them from running into other packs, stopping them from fixating and catching people. Or if your tank needs to cut, you can also use that. Or obviously, we can play D&D slow here. Definitely don't want to be pushing Chains of Ice during Pillar, since it costs a rune. But outside Pillar, definitely fine to be pushing. Blinding Sleet is your AoE stop. Don't forget that it does have an AoE slow. So if you don't have D&D slow, you can Blinding Sleet for an AoE slow. AMZ. One is very important. One of the main reasons DK DPS is so strong in Mythic Plus. It is on an extremely long cooldown now, thanks to the rework. It's on 3 minutes, but you know, make sure it's in the rotation. If you don't know when to push it, ask your healer when they want AMZ, and they'll usually have a pretty good answer, or they'll just say they'll call for it or something. Don't forget, you do also have a battle res. It's definitely not as costly as it was before, since, you know, as we mentioned, Breath does not drain runic power anymore. But, you know, obviously you still don't want to be doing it too much during your breath window, especially or during your pillar window. But, you know, sometimes it's better to get your ally up in case they really need to do an important job or something. Anyway, so we've talked about gameplay, talents, talked about utility. We did not, however, mention the stats. So I believe for most people, the most important stat is going to be crit. And then second priority is mastery, third priority is haste. That may change for you depending what your stats are at the time. So make sure you sim yourself in raid bots to make sure you're playing the right stats. It's usually not too important as long as you go crit and mastery and a little bit of haste. But if you want to get really specific, that is a great website to use. As far as trinkets go, I believe Pacemaker is actually going to be the best stat stick. Pacemaker and Solia's probably the two best. You can put Solia's on crit. Unyielding Nether Prism, I believe, is the best on-use that we have access to. There are some other on-uses, I think, but I believe Nether Prism is the best. If you do not raid, you don't have access to Nether Prism, I think the best one is going to be Curstone Idol after Nether Prism, but I think Nether Prism is slightly superior at this moment. Obviously, Sims will definitely tell the story there. As far as embellishments go, the first thing you need to know about embellishments are that they do not matter. Every embellishment is like sub 1% or maybe a little bit more than 1% damage. The difference between them is going to be very small. Early on in the season, crafting a two-hander could be a very good move if you do not think you're going to get one from your vault or you can't get one from the raid. Endgame, I believe it's very likely that you will use belt and bracers with Dawn Thread on them. But again, embellishments do not matter whatsoever. For your Rune Forge, since you're only using one weapon, it will be Rune of the Fallen Crusader. If you dual wield, then the second one will have Rune of the Stoneskin Gargoyle. And I believe that about covers it. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.